Have any of you guys ever said, I just wish I could pack up and hop in my car and spend my time out on the open road? Yeah? Well, one woman who I happened to graduate from high school with back in Michigan back in the day, she is defying expectations doing that right now. Christiane Palpant. And at this moment, she's 50, she's living out of a Sprinter van that she renovated and is driving across the entire country. So she stopped by Growing Bolder as she was beginning this journey. She showed off her wheels, and now she is touring all 50 states in her van, which she has named Millicent, by the way. Of course, the van needs to have a name. She's stopping along the way on her trip to paint. She's blogging about her journey, and she is meeting inspirational women on purpose, and then she's going to write about them for an upcoming book. But before all of this, it was actually a health scare that motivated her to make this change and start living the life of her dreams on 4 wheels.
I spent my entire career planes, trains, and automobiles going around to the different banks and visiting them, and director of client services. And then I had a health crisis a couple of years ago. And it was a sudden health crisis, something that blindsided me literally. I was at a client dinner and had chest pains and collapsed at the hospital door. I was basically flatlined at that point, but an unknown virus had attacked my heart and filled it with so much fluid between the sac and the heart that the heart could no longer beat. So they had to do an emergency pericentesis is what they call it. Then I ended up being in cardiac critical care for a couple of weeks and ultimately had open heart surgery.
What was your year of being bedridden?
Yeah, 2018, 2019, 2020. After bed rest, I went straight back into my Fortune 200 leadership job, working long hours, and kept dealing with pain crises. My brother-in-law said to me, "You have a leaky roof." And I said, "What do you mean by that?" And he said, "Have you ever heard the song about the man with the leaky roof? When the storms come, he runs around with the pots and pans and the water drips, but when it gets sunny out, he forgets about his leaky roof. And when the storms come again, he runs around and does the same thing." And then he looked at me and said, "You have a leaky roof." I took 1 week off of work, and that is very unlike me. But I knew this was a decision that just wasn't a 24-hour or one evening. I had a feeling this was going to be a cataclysmic life shift. And I took 1 week, and I wrote, and I made spreadsheets. I looked at my bank accounts. And I thought, okay, I'm going to make 5 decisions. I'm going to write down 5 decisions that I can make. The first being the most conservative, all the way to the most wild about what this next life venture could be. So I sat down with my sister, I told her about these, and then I got to number 5, and I spun in my chair and I said to her, or I could buy a Sprinter van, customize it, and go around all 50 states painting and interviewing women about courageous decisions that they've made that have ultimately changed the trajectory of their lives. And she looked at me and said, "I think you have your answer." So thus the dream was born. And I said to her, "Do you really think I can do that or should do that?" And she said, "I'd be disappointed if you didn't do it."
Isn't she cool? We are going to bring you more about her journey in the upcoming months. But for right now, I just want to dig into the motivation that she had to take that leap of faith. And she really followed her heart in renovating this van and then taking off. And I loved the leaky roof story. How about that, right? That was really what helped her realize that she needed to make that change after she'd had this health scare. So, Mark, how can people identify that they want to make a change in their life before maybe a major life event happens? Is that possible, do you think?
We hear all the time that it takes a terminal diagnosis or something like that to appreciate the things that we all take for granted, which unfortunately are typically the most important things in our lives. The people that we love, the stuff that we do. So how do we stop? How do we make ourselves realize what really matters. And I think that's it. I think we all have to stop right now and ask ourselves, what do we care about? What really matters? And think about that. And then we have to forget about everything else and focus on those things. Easier said than done.
It truly is easier said than done. I remember when I experienced the stroke on air in 2004 and lost my ability to speak. Life literally flashed right in front of me, and then 10 years later losing it again as a result of another stroke, and thinking, okay, I need to do something different. And all that I love, and I kept doing the same thing. I love TV, I love producing, I love doing all of these things. But at some point, I know that I just want to travel the world. I just want to, now that I'm an empty nester, I think this is my chance to really just do what Cecily wants to do.
That's great, Cecily, because I kind of watched this and I kind of taken back a little bit because I am an undiagnosed leaky roofer.
Yeah.
Or at least previously undiagnosed till now. If it's not in front of my face, I'm going to put it aside and focus on some other stuff. So how do you change that? I don't know. I'm hoping other people can help me, but I think one way is family, feeling a responsibility to them, to plan, to have the conversations about, hey, what do we want to do next? Where do we want to go? How do we want to live our lives?
I think the thing that I took away from it was that, yes, she's doing this what's next move for now. She's not going to do this forever. I think she's going to do this for 8 or 9 months. And now this has given her the courage to continue to ask what's next. So when she finishes this, then maybe the book is next, maybe another job, maybe more painting. But I think this kind of gets you out of that rut, and it did for her, and just allows her to ask what's next many times over in the later stages of your life.